The autumn rain pattered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Olivia Reed's office, casting rippling shadows across the polished mahogany desk where she stood reviewing the latest financial reports. At 32, she'd built Reed Technologies, from a struggling startup into a respected player in medical software. Tonight, that achievement was slipping through her fingers like water. "The board votes in 3 days," Thomas, her CFO, said grimly. "Without a miracle, Mercer Industries takes controlling interest." Olivia's reflection stared back at her from the darkened glass. Honey blonde hair pulled into a severe bun, tailored, charcoal suit betraying none of the desperation churning inside her. "There has to be something we haven't considered." "There is one thing." Thomas shifted uncomfortably. "Julian Mercer specifically mentioned your personal situation during negotiations." "My personal situation?" Olivia turned, eyes narrowing. "The board believes a CEO needs stability, family, roots." Thomas wouldn't meet her gaze. "Mercer implied your dedication to work above relationships makes you volatile." "That's absurd. My personal life has nothing to do with my ability to run this company." "Perception matters. The older board members are traditional. They're nervous about entrusting the company to someone who might be too focused on work." "To settle down?" Olivia finished, anger flaring. "This isn't 1950. I'm just telling you what we're up against." After Thomas left, Olivia poured herself 2 fingers of bourbon and scrolled through her contacts. She needed someone, anyone, she could trust to play the role of devoted partner until the vote passed. Someone with nothing to lose and everything to gain. Someone desperate enough to enter a business arrangement disguised as love. That's when she remembered him. Damon Wells stood in his cramped apartment studio, examining the rejection email from yet another gallery. At 34, his photography career was stalling, and the medical bills from his mother's cancer treatments had drained what little savings he'd managed to accumulate. The knock at his door came just after 9. When he opened it, he nearly dropped his coffee mug. "Olivia Reed?" The woman he'd photographed for Seattle Business Monthly last year stood in his hallway, rain dampening her expensive coat. "May I come in?" Her voice was all business, but something in her eyes spoke of desperation. Damien's apartment was barely 500 square feet, photography equipment competing with a futon and kitchenette for space. Olivia seemed wildly out of place amid his organized chaos. "I have a proposition," she said, declining his offer of coffee. "I need a husband." Damon stared. "Excuse me?" "Not a real husband. A contract. 6 months, possibly a year." Olivia remained standing as though sitting might somehow make this conversation more absurd. "I'm about to lose my company to Julian Mercer unless I can convince my board I'm stable enough to lead through uncertain times." "And marriage would do that?" "Traditional values." Her mouth twisted. "Apparently being single makes me erratic and untrustworthy." Damon ran a hand through his dark hair. "Why me?" "You're talented but struggling. You have no social media presence, no romantic entanglements I could find." She met his gaze directly. "And I can offer $500,000. Half now, half when our contract ends." The figure hit Damon like a physical blow. His mother's treatments, the looming eviction notice, the equipment upgrades he desperately needed, all solved with a signature. "What would this involve?" he asked, surprised by his steady voice. "Moving into my penthouse, public appearances, convincing everyone we're madly in love." She extended a thick folder. "The contract outlines everything. Separate bedrooms, of course." Damon took the folder, his photographer's eye noting details he'd missed initially. The slight tremble in her perfectly manicured hands, the shadow of exhaustion beneath her makeup. "What's the catch?" Something flickered across Olivia's face. "Complete discretion. If word gets out this isn't real, I lose everything. I'll need time to think." You have until tomorrow morning. She moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Mr. Wells. I hope you say yes. After she left, Damien spread the contract across his makeshift dining table, the weight of opportunity and deception pressing down on him. As rain streaked his windows, he stared at the signature line awaiting his name, wondering what price his integrity truly carried. The Bellevue Grand Hotel's ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and Seattle's elite. 2 weeks into their arrangement, Damien adjusted his cufflinks, platinum accessories that cost more than his previous month's rent, while observing Olivia across the room. She moved through the charity gala with practiced ease, champagne flute barely touched as she charmed investors and board members alike. "You're staring," murmured Thomas, appearing at Damien's side. "Isn't that the point?" Damien smiled, the expression well rehearsed. Besotted husband can't take his eyes off his beautiful wife. Thomas studied him. "She seems different with you, almost softer." "Acting skills," Damien replied, though he'd noticed changes, too. Moments when Olivia's carefully maintained facade slipped, revealing glimpses of unexpected vulnerability. "Mr. Wells," purred a voice that sent ice through Damien's veins. "What a surprise." He turned to find Vanessa Parker, his ex-girlfriend from 3 years ago, resplendent in crimson silk that matched her perfectly painted lips. "Vanessa, I didn't know you were in Seattle." Clearly. Her gaze flicked to Olivia across the room. "Married to Olivia Reed? That's quite the upgrade from a struggling photographer living in a shoebox apartment." "People change," Damien said carefully. "Not that much." Vanessa sipped her champagne. "I'm heading PR for Mercer Industries now. Julian was very interested to hear about our history." Before Damien could respond, Olivia appeared beside him, sliding her arm through his with practiced intimacy. "Darling, the Hendersons are asking about our honeymoon photos." Her smile was dazzling but didn't reach her eyes. "Olivia Reed." Vanessa extended her hand. "I'm Vanessa Parker. I was just catching up with your husband. We have quite the history together." "How lovely." Olivia's grip on Damien's arm tightened imperceptibly. "Damien's mentioned you." The lie hung between them. Damien had deliberately omitted Vanessa from their relationship briefings, a mistake now glaring in its consequences. "Has he mentioned our apartment in Portland? The one with the rooftop garden where he proposed?" Vanessa's smile turned predatory. "Oh, but that was a different life, wasn't it?" "Indeed it was," Olivia replied smoothly. "If you'll excuse us, the Hendersons are waiting." In the taxi home, silence stretched between them like barbed wire. Rain pelted the windows, mirroring the storm brewing inside the vehicle. "When were you going to tell me about her?" Olivia finally asked, voice controlled. "It wasn't relevant." "Not relevant?" Olivia's laugh held no humor. "She works for Julian, Mercer, and knows enough about your past to potentially expose us." "That seems extremely relevant." Damien stared out at the rain-slicked streets. "We were together for 2 years. It ended badly." "Define badly," I proposed. She said yes. Then she left without explanation. The memory still stung, though less sharply than before. I found out later she'd been offered a job in New York. Apparently, I wasn't worth the inconvenience of a long-distance relationship. Something in Olivia's expression softened momentarily before her business mask slipped back into place. "This changes things. Mercer's obviously looking for ammunition against us." In the penthouse elevator, Damien leaned against the wall, suddenly, exhausted by the performance their lives had become. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I should have told you." Olivia studied him, her amber eyes unreadable. "We need to be more convincing. We're already living together, making public appearances. What more?" "Physical affection," she interrupted. "We're too reserved with each other. Real couples touch constantly, small gestures, intimate moments. We need to practice. The elevator doors opened to their floor, but neither moved. Now? Damon asked, pulse quickening despite himself. Now. Olivia stepped closer, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something expensive with notes, of vanilla and sandalwood. May I? He nodded, unprepared for the sensation of her fingers sliding into his hair, her body leaning into his with deliberate intent. When her lips brushed his, the kiss was technical, calculated, until it wasn't. Something shifted between them, the pretense giving way to unexpected heat. Damien's hands found her waist, drawing her closer as the kiss deepened. Olivia pulled. Away first, eyes wide with surprise and something else, fear, perhaps, at the unscripted moment of genuine connection. That should be convincing enough, she said, voice slightly breathless as she stepped from the elevator. Damon followed, wondering if the warmth in his chest was merely part of their performance or something far more dangerous to them both. Part 3. Dangerous Truths. The prescription bottle tumbled from Damien's bathroom cabinet with a plastic rattle that seemed to echo through the penthouse. Olivia froze. The towel she'd been bringing him forgotten in her hands as she stared at the medication on the marble floor. Cordivaline, she read, recognition flickering across her features. Reed Technologies had developed software for tracking precisely this experimental treatment. This is for Huntington's. Damon stood in the doorway, water from his shower still beading on his shoulders. You weren't supposed to be home until 7. Board meeting ended early. Olivia picked up the bottle, studying the label with growing comprehension. How long have you known? 3 months. Damon took the bottle from her, movements deliberately casual. It's early stage. I have years before symptoms become noticeable, but not curable. Her voice was hollow. No, this is why you agreed to the contract. Not a question, but a realization. The money isn't for equipment or rent, it's for treatment. Damien's silence was confirmation enough. The weight of his secret pressed against the walls of the bathroom, making the spacious room feel suddenly claustrophobic. You should have told me, Olivia said quietly. Would it have mattered? Of course it... Her phone interrupted with an urgent chime. As she read the message, color drained from her face. We need to go, now. In the car, she finally explained. Someone's accessing private company files. Thomas thinks they're looking for information about our relationship. Mercer? Who else? Olivia stared out the window, her reflection fractured by raindrops. If they discover the truth about our marriage, I lose everything. And if they discover the truth about me? Damon asked softly. Olivia turned to him, something vulnerable crossing her features. I won't let that happen. The Reed Technologies lobby buzzed with security personnel when they arrived. Thomas met them at the elevator, his typically composed demeanor shattered. Conference room, he muttered. Mercer's here. Julian Mercer lounged in Olivia's chair, his expensive suit and silver-streaked dark hair exuding casual dominance. Beside him, Vanessa smiled with calculating precision. Olivia? Damon? Julian's voice carried the practiced warmth of a predator. Forgive the intrusion. I had some concerns that couldn't wait until morning. My office isn't open for drop-ins, Olivia replied coldly. Considering I'll own controlling interest by week's end, I thought I'd get comfortable. Julian gestured to the chairs across from him. Please sit. What do you want? Damon asked, remaining standing beside Olivia. Julian extracted a folder from his briefcase. Clarity. Your marriage seems convenient, especially given Damien's recent medical diagnosis. Ice flooded Olivia's veins. You accessed private medical records? Information finds its way to those who value it. Julian opened the folder. Huntington's disease. Experimental treatment costing roughly what you're paying him for this charade. The timing is remarkable. Our marriage is none of your business. Damien's voice remained steady despite the panic Olivia could feel radiating from him. It becomes my business when it affects my investment. Julian's smile never reached his eyes. The board votes in 48 hours. If they discover this marriage is a sham, that their trusted CEO fabricated a relationship to maintain control, how do you think they'll vote? What do you want? Olivia asked, though she already knew. Step down voluntarily. Recommend me as your replacement. In return, I'll bury this information and ensure Reed Technologies continues funding the Huntington's research program. Julian stood, straightening his cuffs. Your husband's treatment depends on advancements from that research, doesn't it? After they left, Olivia sank into her chair, the weight of impossible choices crushing her shoulders. You should take the deal, Damon said quietly. The company is just business. Your father's legacy can survive under different leadership. Just business? Olivia looked up, unexpected fire in her eyes. This company develops treatments that save lives. Under Mercer, it becomes another profit machine. Patient costs would triple. Research into less profitable conditions would end. Including Huntington's, Damon realized. Including Huntington's. Olivia stood, sudden determination straightening her spine. We have 48 hours to turn this around. How? By making them believe this is real. She approached him slowly. No more separate bedrooms, no more careful distance. If we're going to convince them, we need to convince ourselves first. As Olivia reached for his hand, Damon saw something in her eyes he hadn't noticed before. Not calculation or business, strategy, but genuine concern. For him, for them. I'm in, he said, entwining his fingers with hers, the gesture no longer performative, but a lifeline between two people facing an uncertain storm. Thunder rolled across Seattle's skyline as rain lashed the penthouse windows. Inside, scattered across Olivia's dining table, lay their battle plans, board member profiles, company financial reports, and strategies for countering Julian's inevitable attacks. Henderson will vote with us if we convince his wife, Olivia said, circling a name on their board list. Exhaustion shadowed her eyes after 18 straight hours of preparation. She volunteers at Seattle Children's Hospital. Our medical software donation there was her project. Damon set down 2 mugs of coffee, his shoulder brushing hers. These casual touches had become natural over the past 24 hours, their boundaries dissolving not through strategic planning, but genuine connection. We should sleep, he suggested, noting the clock's unforgiving display. 2:17 a.m. The gala's tomorrow night. Everyone who matters will be there. 1 more hour. Olivia's voice carried the edge of someone accustomed to fighting impossible odds alone. You said that an hour ago. Damien's hand covered hers, stilling her restless shuffling of papers. Olivia. Rest. She looked up, vulnerability flickering, across features usually schooled to perfect control. I can't lose this company, Damon. Not to him. You won't. The conviction in his voice surprised them both. Lightning illuminated the room, and in that flash, something changed. The careful distance they'd maintained, despite their arrangement crumbling like the last wall between strangers and intimates. Olivia's kiss caught him off guard, not calculated like their practiced displays, but desperate and honest. Damon responded instinctively, hands threading through her hair as thunder punctuated their shared breath. This isn't part of the plan, he murmured against her lips. I know. Her eyes held questions neither could fully articulate. Do you want to stop? His answer came not in words, but in the gentle way he lifted her, papers scattering forgotten as he carried her toward the bedroom they'd carefully avoided sharing until now. In darkness, broken only by occasional lightning, They discovered each other without pretense, the scar on his shoulder from a childhood accident, the birthmark beneath her ribs, secrets their bodies revealed that words had kept hidden. "I never expected this," Olivia whispered afterward, her head resting on his chest, heartbeats synchronizing in the quiet aftermath. "You were supposed to be a solution, not a complication," Damon finished, fingers tracing patterns along her spine. "Person." She propped herself up, studying his face with new awareness. "I've spent so long seeing people as assets or obstacles. I forgot they could be real. Is that what I am now?" "Real," her smile, unguarded, without calculation, answered before her words. Terrifyingly so. Morning light filtered through rain-washed windows when Damon woke, finding Olivia already, dressed, staring out at the city below. "Regrets?" he asked quietly. She turned, something resolute in her expression. "No, but we need to talk about what happens after tomorrow's vote." "If we win—" "When we win," she corrected. "Our contract has an end date. I need to know what you want when that day comes." The question hung between them. No longer merely about business arrangements, but possibilities neither had allowed themselves to consider. "What do you want?" he countered. Olivia approached the bed, sitting beside him with uncharacteristic uncertainty. "6 weeks ago, I wanted a convenient solution. Now? Now I find myself contemplating inconvenient truths," her fingers entwined with his. "Like how my business arrangement has developed a heartbeat of its own." Damon sat up, meeting her gaze directly. "Are you saying—" "I'm saying when this is over, I don't want the contract to end." The confession seemed to surprise her as much as him. "But my company comes first. Today we focus on saving Reed Technologies. Tomorrow we can discuss us." As she left to prepare for their final confrontation with Julian, Damon watched her go, marveling at how the woman who had entered his apartment seeking a business transaction had become someone whose happiness mattered more than the fortune she'd promised him. The lines between pretense and reality had not merely blurred, they had vanished entirely, leaving something neither had anticipated: truth in a relationship founded on deception. Part 5. Beyond Contract, the Wellington Foundation. Gala transformed the Seattle Art Museum into a wonderland of white orchids and candlelight. Every board member, major shareholder, and influential investor in the city circulated beneath Renaissance masterpieces, unaware they were witnessing a different kind of art. The carefully choreographed dance of power between Olivia Reed and Julian Mercer. Damon adjusted his bow tie, watching Olivia charm Henderson's wife with tales of children benefiting from Reed Technologies' hospital donation. Her golden dress caught the light as she laughed, the sound no longer practiced but genuine. "Quite the performance." Julian appeared beside him, crystal tumbler in hand. "I almost believe it myself." "Not everything is a performance," Damon replied evenly. "No?" Julian's smile never reached his eyes. "Tell me, what happens when the treatment stops working? When symptoms appear? Will she stand beside you through the decline? Women like Olivia Reed don't play nurse. You don't know her. I know her type. Ambitious, ruthless." Julian sipped his scotch. "I've offered to maintain funding for your treatment. That offer expires at midnight." "She's not stepping down." "Then you're both fools." Julian nodded toward the museum entrance where Vanessa had appeared, escorting an elderly man Damon recognized from photographs. Bernard Reed, Olivia's father, and the company's founder. "What is he doing here?" Damon's stomach clenched. Bernard's advancing dementia had kept him secluded at his estate for years, protected from public scrutiny. "Family reunion," Julian smirked. "Vanessa mentioned your touching love story." He seemed confused, couldn't recall his daughter's wedding. Across the room, Olivia had frozen mid-conversation, her composure cracking as she spotted her father looking disoriented amid the crowd. "You son of a—" Damon began, but Julian was already moving toward Bernard, Vanessa guiding the confused man through whispers. Damon reached Olivia first. "He brought your father." "I can see that." Her voice trembled slightly. "Dad hasn't appeared publicly in 3 years. He doesn't understand." "I know. It's a setup." Damon took her hands. "Julian wants him to expose us." Determination hardened in Olivia's eyes. "Then we don't let him." They crossed the room together, reaching Bernard, just as Julian did. The older man's confusion was evident, his once sharp eyes clouded with the fog of dementia. "Olivia?" Bernard squinted. "Where's Martha?" Martha, Olivia's mother, dead 15 years. "Dad." Olivia's voice gentled as she took his arm. "What are you doing here?" "This lovely woman said you wanted to see me." He gestured vaguely toward Vanessa. "Something about your husband?" Julian stepped forward, voice carrying just loud enough for nearby board members to hear. "Mr. Reed, have you met your daughter's husband? They've been married for nearly a month now." Bernard's brow furrowed. "Married? No, that can't be right. Olivia would have told me." Whispers rippled through the gathering crowd. Damon felt Olivia's fingers tighten around his, sensed the moment beginning to unravel. "Actually, sir," Damon said, stepping directly into Bernard's line of sight, "we've known each other for some time. I'm the photographer who took pictures of your garden last summer. You showed me your prize roses." Something flickered in the older man's eyes. Not recognition exactly, but less confusion. "The young man with the camera? You liked the yellow ones?" "That's right." Damon smiled genuinely. "You told me they reminded you of Olivia's mother." "Martha loved yellow." Bernard nodded slowly. "She would have liked you." Olivia's breath caught beside him, understanding blooming in her expression. Damon had never photographed her father's garden, had never met Bernard before this moment. Yet somehow he'd connected, created a lifeline of dignity for a man being used as a pawn. "Mr. Reed," Julian interrupted smoothly, "perhaps you'd like to share when you first heard about your daughter's relationship?" Before Bernard could answer, Olivia stepped forward. "That's enough, Julian." Her voice carried across the now silent room. "My father is not a prop in your corporate takeover." She turned to address the watching crowd, board members and investors alike. "Yes, my marriage happened quickly. Yes, it surprised many of you. But some things can't be scheduled or planned, like finding someone who sees you for who you really are." Her eyes met Damon's, and in that moment, every word became truth. Someone who reminds you that companies and contracts don't define us. People do. Connections do. She took Damon's hand. "Tomorrow you'll vote on Reed Technology's future. I ask that you consider not just profit margins, but purpose. What we build matters more than what we own." Later, after Bernard had been gently escorted home and the gala continued around them, Damon found Olivia on the museum's rooftop garden, Seattle's lights glittering below through dissipating rain clouds. "Henderson's wife cornered me," he said, joining her at the railing. "Apparently, we've won her over. And if her husband knows what's good for him, we've won his vote too." Olivia smiled faintly. "3 more and we block Julian's takeover. We'll get them."